Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing, and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys, how we are different from our competitors. 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus, one-time fee and lifetime access to classes, access to recorded sessions of live classes. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For a free demo class, visit us at h2kinfosys.com.
So okay guys, so let's go ahead and start our class today. So in our last class we have started discussing about our word count example, right? So we had viewed the screen and we had discussed about it like on a very high level what happens from the start of our input and how we are going to get our final result, right? So if we discuss it one again on a very high level, we can say like each input text file will be splitted into number of records, and each input split will be sent as an input to our map phase. So in this example we have 3 splits here, and so that's the reason we are having 3 mapper classes here. So once each map is processed, we will get each as a list of key value pairs, and in our shuffle and sort phase what happens is based on the keys we will be collecting and send to one single reducer on it. So and it is again up to the developer to decide how many reducers you want or whether we want to go with our default reducer. Okay, so here as a developer I decided to have 4 reducers as I'm having 4 keys, such that each key will be going to one single reducer. And at the reducer phase what I am doing is getting based on the key value, I am adding up or I am aggregating all the values of that particular key. So suppose if you see here bare comma 1 and bare comma 1, in my reducer phase I am doing it as bare comma 1 plus 1, which is 2. So the same thing is happening with car. For car comma 1, car comma 1, car comma 1, I am having it as car comma 3, and same with deer and river, and thus I am finally throwing my final result. So let us see this through the programming how we are doing it. Okay, before directly going into the program, let's have a algorithm on it, okay, such that while looking into the program it will be much more easier for us to understand the code. So first of all I am trying to explain you like how we are going to write the code for this program. So this slide says like count the number of occurrences for each word in the large amount of input data. So let us have an example, and for that what we are doing in our map phase is for each input underscore key and input underscore value I am trying to emit it as key comma value. That means for each word W in input value I am emitting word comma 1. So for every word in this input file, every word in the sense deer is a word, bear is a word, and river is a word. So for every word I am emitting it as word comma 1. In the sense deer, bear, river will be divided into deer comma 1, bear comma 1, and river comma 1. And what I am doing in my reduce program is I am sending this particular key on all the list of values. So each reducer here will get bear comma 1 and bear comma 1. So for example if I take my reducer 1 which is bear comma 2, which is resulting bear comma 2, I will have the input as key 2 comma list of v2, that is bear comma 1 and bear comma 1. So if you observe here the k2 is equal but the list is huge, that means more than 1. So output key comma iterator, so I am iterating each of the value for that particular key. So I am setting up a variable called as count which is equal to 0, and for each v in intermediate values count is equal to count plus v. So every time I am incrementing the count with that value. So for the first time it will be 1, and again for this loop repeated for the second time the count will be 2. So until and unless the loop is finished, I will do the same procedure for all the iterated values, and finally I will emit the key comma the count, the whole count aggregated value of that particular key. So that is what typically my reducer function will do. So I am explaining it with an example. So here my key is 3414. So if you remember, my key is the length of my whole value itself, right? So the position of that particular word is taken as key itself. So if you imagine that the cat sat on the mat, line is starting at 3414 position, my key comma value would be 3414 comma the cat sat on the mat. And the same with the adverb sat on the sofa. So this particular line is starting at that position 3437. So that is the reason I have the values as key and values in the way I had shown in the slide. So once it goes through the mapper phase, it will be emitted with each word separated comma 1, right? That is what our algorithm says, emit word comma 1. So it is emitting separately. The is coming one time, cat is coming one time, sat is coming one time, and on is coming one time. Again the the is coming one time, mat is coming one time, the is coming one time, and so on. Our whole input string will be divided into key comma 1. And now the intermediate data is sent to this reducer. So during the shuffle and sort phase, each key will be taken separately with all the values get together at particular place. So that's the reason if you observe this on sat the values here, each one is having the collection of all the values of that particular key. So the the is having as d comma 1 comma 1 comma 1 comma 1. That means this particular 3 value is repeated 4 times, and everything is collected and kept at some place, at one place as key comma value. And this intermediate value is sent to my reducer, which is throwing d comma 4. So the same way is happening with all the remaining values as well. So okay, but before going into that, I just wanted to explain you few things. Okay, so if you observe the parameters from Linux to HDFS, there are few differences, right? Tab HDFS. First of all, let's take the current directory. So the current directory in Linux will start from home, right? Home, and then if at all, if there is any username that I want to define, I can give like this, right? But in HDFS, it will start with user. So that is the reason we had created a separate user for HDFS, and we use it to log in using that user itself. So every user can log in into Hadoop separately, and each user will be differentiated based on the directory starting from user, and then if at all I want to give any name, I can give my username, right? And if you take the owner in Linux, the owner is root itself. So everything will start with root. But in HDFS, the owner is HDFS itself. So if you take Hadoop, there will be two users, right? Actually, one is the HDFS user and another one is MapReducer. So here the owner of HDFS is HDFS itself. And if you take permissions, maybe on my home directory, if at all I give make directory test or something, here I will get an error as access or permission denied. But here, if I try to create some directory, so the command I use is hadoop fs make directory some test or something, right? So here also I use it to get the same error if I give directly instead of logging with that user. Right? So if that is the case, I have to create a directory using sudo command. Right? Sudo is a command which will make us to create or which will make us to give some admin access. So in HDFS only the admin guy can create directories, but if at all you want to create some directory in the home path, then you have to give it sudo. So these are few differences when compared to Linux and HDFS. So coming to our program, each properly developed produced program will have three components. One is mapper, second one is reducer, and the third one is main class or driver class, where the execution starts from here. Okay, so the mapper class will have the map function, the reducer class will have the reduce function, and this is main. No logic or nothing will be there. Here only the mapper main driver class. I will show you what this driver class will contain now. Okay. So let's go to our program once. So this is what my word count program is about. So as discussed, we are having three classes here, right? The first one is word mapper, which is a mapper class, and the second one is sum reducer, which is the name I kept for my reducer class, and the third one is word count, which is the name of my driver class. So the execution starts from the word count.java. So if you observe this program, so the first step is I'm importing all the required classes that were needed to run this program, and from here the main class is going to start. So every program will start its execution from public static void main class, right? So from the main itself the program will start executing. So this is the first line that is going to be executed in my word count program. So what this particular code is doing is it is calling a tool runner class and it is asking to do something. So here I had given like tool runner dot run. So that is the reason it goes into public int run. So my tool runner is calling a particular step called as run. So here what I am checking is if arguments dot length not equal to 2, that means if at all my arguments are less than 2 or it is not equal to 2, then I am trying to throw an error. But exactly what tool runner does is, so okay, let me take an example. So here is my word count program sitting, and here is my tool runner. Okay. So if at all I want to execute my word count dot program, I have to give my jar file to execute it, right? So let's imagine the jar file is word count dot jar. So once I submit word count dot jar, what my word count program will do is, hey, I am calling a tool runner such that it will give some what I can say is such that it will give some qualifications or some extra accesses such that it is overriding my admin configurations. Okay, so my tool runner has the capability write some admin configs. So suppose my admin has decided that the number of reducers that are going to be run in my Hadoop cluster is only one. Tool runner has that capacity or capability such that it can override those properties in my cluster. So the word count.jar, once it is submitted to my word count program, my program will go to tool runner and say like, can you please apply 6 reducers to my Hadoop configuration and call back my jar program. So word count program is calling the tool runner as so this is my object and it's going to send its arguments as well. So this is what my word count program passes before it calls the tool runner class. So it will send the word count program itself and then the arguments. Now tool runner will check the arguments, number of arguments, and if it is less than 2 as per my code, it is throwing error, and if at all the arguments that I am passing is correct, it is going to apply 6 reducers to my cluster or to my program. So it's up to me like how many reducers I want to run. So it's not only the case with reducers, any configuration that was decided by my admin, I can override it using my tool runner. So or else by default also I can call my tool runner to run such that it will accept the arguments, it will check for the arguments and then it will execute it. So that is what the functionality of a tool runner. Here I am trying to check only the length of arguments, not anything else. And if at all, if it is not equal to true, not equal to 2, I am throwing an error. So that's what the command says here. This says that my execution need 2 input arguments. That is, here I am trying to give an input file and an output file. So and the next step is jobconf.conf is equal to new job configuration. So this particular step, what it does is it will try to include all the configurations, or it will try to extract all the configurations that were given in my 3 configuration sites.xml. So it will extract all those configurations and apply it for my program. And the next step, I am just declaring a job name to this particular program. And these 2 steps are actually giving my paths or arguments. So the first one is file input format dot set input path. So it is going to pass my first argument, which will be my input file. Then I am executing this particular word count program. And my output path is something, the argument which I am going to give it in my execution run, and that is my first argument. So through this two steps I am trying to pass both the arguments, that is my input file and my output file. And from here to here I am declaring the properties of my mapper and reducer. So here I am giving my mapper class as word mapper.class. So that is the reason I am having my mapper class with the name as word mapper.java. If at all I am giving him here as only mapper.class, I have to write my mapper class with the name as mapper.java. And the same thing is with reducer. I am setting the reducer class name as SumReducer.class, and that is the reason I am having my reducer class name as SumReducer.java. My voice is breaking. Guys, you are able to hear my voice? Anybody is having any issue with my audio? Hello? Hello? Guys, are you able to hear me? Yes. Few of the people are saying that they are fine. So anyone else is having an audio issue? Okay. Okay. Fine. I'll be more louder. Okay. So you are clear till this step, right? Set mapper class and set reducer class. So any issues on this? Fine. Let me go ahead. Okay. So the next step talks about set map output key class. So here I am determining what type of key that I am going to give through my map phase. So here I am declaring it as text.class. So the key is, for example, if you imagine that hi, 1 and how, 1 is the output that was sent by my map phase. Here the key is hi and how, right? So hi and how are text, and that is the reason I am declaring it as map output key class as text. And the next one is map output value class. Here the values I am declaring it as int writable. So in Java we will have as integer, boolean or some other different phases, right? So here I am trying to declare it as int writable. So this 1, 1 will be int writables. And now set output key class. So this is the final output key class that I am going to generate from my reducer class. So that will be declared using set output key class. And again I am trying to give it the key value with text only, because the key is not changing from map phase to reduce phase, right? So I am having it as text only. And even though it is a particular word count program, even my reducer will generate the count itself with int writable only, right? So there is no change in the formats from my mapper output to my reducer output, right? So that is the reason I am having the key comma value as text comma int writable. And my job client is calling my run job here. So this is where my word mapper and some reducer classes are going to be called. So let's go to the map phase and see what we are doing there. So from here I'm trying to start my program. Public class word mapper extends map reduce place implements mapper. So let us imagine one particular split has been given as input to my word mapper. So that input split is 1, hi, how are you? So the key is 1 and the value itself is hi, how are you? So what my map phase is doing is, it is reading the key values and emitting the intermediate values, and those intermediate values are being collected by my output collector. So the output collector is a value where I am collecting all the keys and values that my map class is going to generate. And once everything is collected, there is a reporter where he will report all these values. So the first step I am having here is string s is equal to value dot toString. Here I am trying to divide my whole string into different values. So I am trying to convert my hi, how, are you to a string. So once this particular step is executed, my whole string will be divided into number of words itself. So now hi, how are you becomes hi, how, are, and you. So each word is being splitted here. So for each split, I am counting the number of word, or I am emitting it as new text word comma new iterable of 1. So for every word I am emitting it as word comma 1. If you remember the algorithm which we had seen, I am emitting as w comma 1, right? So for each word I am emitting as hi comma 1, how comma 1, or comma 1, and you comma 1. So that is what just the simple functionality I am having in my map phase. And coming to the reducer phase, all the intermediate values are being collected, and the shuffle and sort phase have been done intermediately through the framework, our Hadoop framework, and thus the input to my reducer class would be as hi comma 1 comma 1 comma 1. If at all I am having hi as 4 times. Okay, for my whole split, if at all I am having it as 4 highs, it would be generating the input to my reducer phase as hi comma 1 comma 1 comma 1. So just imagine it as an example. It's not particularly for that particular input split. I'm just giving you an example. So here I am reading the text and all the iterator values. So hi is sent through this value, and my whole iterator values will be sent as 1 comma 1 comma 1 comma 1. So this loop will be going to execute 4 times for this particular hi key. So I am trying to declare a particular variable called as word count, and I am initializing it to 0, and I am executing, or I am iterating this particular loop until it doesn't have a next value. So every time I am giving, or I am aggregating the values as word count is equal to word count plus value dot get, and hence once the whole loop is executed, it will generate the output as hi comma 4, how comma 3, and or comma 5, only in the case if my input is hi comma 4 ones, how for 3 ones, and or for 5 ones. And now I am collecting all these output values in my output collector, and this will be sent back to my particular developer or client. So that is what the word count program talks about. So let's try to run this program and see how the output works. Okay.
H2K Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing, and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys, how we are different from our competitors. 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus, one-time fee and lifetime access to classes, access to recorded sessions of live classes. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For a free demo class, visit us at h2kinfosys.com.